Welcome to Talk Across America. I'm Doug Miles, and we're here in beautiful Sarasota, Florida. And joining us now on our Book Talk segment, great to welcome a man, a very talented man, very interesting life he's led, and he's written a very interesting book about the Fab Four, the Beatles. It's called The Roof, the Beatles' Final Concert, about their final live performance. This took place just about 50 years ago as we talk today in mid-January, and he joined us by telephone. His name is Ken Mansfield. He's up in around Panama City, Florida, not too far north of us here. But Ken, great to talk with you. How are you today?
My pleasure to be here. I'm great.
Yeah, as I said, you've had a fascinating life, fascinating career, particularly in the music business. And I should say you were the U.S. President or man in charge of Apple Records. Of course, everybody knows the Beatles were on Apple Records when they first came to the United States. So this book is kind of focusing on their last concert, a concert very few people, I guess, got to attend, right?
Yes, it is. The book really focuses on a 2-year period of the creation of Apple, and which led up to the concert on the roof. And it's a very personal book. There's been a million books written about the Beatles and all the facts and stuff. But in this book, I take people down the street and in the door of the Apple building and into the offices and just to meet the people there and just see what it's really like day-to-day chaos. There's pictures in there inside the offices and just things about the guys on an everyday basis. A very, very personal and special look at that whole thing of Apple and the Beatles and the final concert.
Yeah, I'm a little bit earlier than before my time, the Beatles, as far as when it happened live. I kind of caught the very tail end of them a little bit, but reading back on them now and going through a lot of the videos and stuff, I've learned a little bit about them. But boy, there just seems to be a never-ending supply of great material about that group.
They are a phenomenon that'll never happen again. That's just something that happened at a special time, in our world, socially and musically and just in every way. So, yeah, that will never happen again.
A few years ago, they put out the 4 appearances that they did on Ed Sullivan's show on DVD. I watched all those several times, and I just can't imagine anything like that today. I guess the Super Bowl might be the closest as far as sharing watching television, but back then, was it 75 million, something like that, watched that first appearance on Sullivan?
I know, and if you look at it, how simple they look. They were just a little drum kit,
right?
A couple guitars, and no flashing things going off or anything like that. And their concerts, they would be in Dodger Stadium filled up, and they would just have a regular kit there. There was no fireworks or nothing. They just it was so simple in those days.
They primarily, they did do some concerts, but I guess primarily became a recording band. They didn't do that many concerts in the States, I guess, because the crowds were so huge and the venues were so huge, nobody could really hear them. I think they didn't like that either, because the screaming, nobody could hear the music. Yeah,
they got very perturbed with that, because they started out as a band playing clubs and stuff like that. They were really into just feeling the people in front of them and just rocking out and having a good time, and nobody was even listening to them. In fact, sometimes they would just do garbled lyrics because they knew nobody could even hear them. Just say it was just kind of, I don't know. It really got to them. They toured America three times. 64, 65, and 66.
Yeah.
And 66 was just the end of it. There was just too much going on, and they just had it. So.
And they really got into more of the studio work then, obviously, the Sgt. Pepper album, and really creative kind of things that you really probably couldn't do on stage, right? That they were doing in the
and they were very disciplined, and the studio was a perfect place for them, because they would show up on time. They would really work on things, and a very disciplined band in that respect.
How did you get involved with them? I know you were the U.S. manager of Apple Records, but you had been working in the recording business before that. How did you kind of hook up with the Beatles?
Well, I was at Capitol Records, and they were a Capitol Records act, and at the first time I met them, I was in charge of promotion for the West Coast. So when they came on tour into California, I worked with the band. They came back in '66. And I had moved up in the label quite a bit by that time, and I worked with them again in '66, and we got to spend a day together at the house day they head off on the tour. And so, and I was a young California guy, suntan, lay my head in a Cadillac convertible, house, Hollywood Hills with a pool. Everything they'd grown up, looking at, just like think, wow, California, that's cool. So they were kind of, in a humble way, I said, they were fascinated with me, just like I was fascinated with the funny way they talked and all that kind of stuff. So they were able to be with a young executive that they could relate to. And so when they decided to set up Apple, America was the most important market, and now I'd even moved up further in the label. So they called the president of Capital Industries and asked for me to come over to London to set it up with them and to come back and run America for them.
I know just from hearing interviews over the years, Lennon and McCartney, I guess all four of them were influenced, but those two in particular by American rock acts like Chuck Berry, and even before that. So they really had an ear on what America was listening to, and kind of took that early rock and roll and then used it themselves, didn't they?
Yeah, they loved the rockabilly music and the blues. Our early R&B artists, they grew up on that stuff.
Little Richard, I guess, was another one, right? That they were influenced by.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bo Diddley.
Bo Diddley, yeah. And you talk in the book, too, about Billy Preston was considered the fifth Beatle. I mean, he's an American, obviously, from that kind of era. Yeah. So he really had a great influence on them.
He did, because, Billy was with Ray Charles, so he had that influence in there. So, yeah. And they were just very open to all these other kinds of music. Ringo was a big country music fan.
Right.
And he had asked me on one of the tours, because Buck Owens was on Capitol, and he wanted to meet Buck Owens, as soon as he could. And so they all had their individual interests like that.
What was it like? I mean, you're in charge of the U.S. division of Apple. I guess you did like the logistics, setting up the recording dates, or what exactly did you have to do while they were in town recording?
Well, when they came in as a band, I would set up press releases, just make sure everything was ordered. At times I would get them a house or just kind of whatever they needed,
right.
And because I was knowledgeable of the street scene and what was going on in America, it gave them somebody that they could, rely on. I don't know if you've traveled much in foreign countries, but boy, if you don't have somebody by your side that's a foreigner, it's not a fun, easy thing. So, it's just whatever they needed. Both business and just personal.
And myself being on the other end of the spectrum here with, the DJ doing radio over the years, I've done a little top 40, but I guess you're kind of in charge of getting the records out to guys like me back then to play them, right?
Oh, gosh,
When they started.
Yeah, I'd take you out to dinner if you played my records, that's for sure.
I wish I was around there to do the radio. It kind of ended when I started, but right.
Yeah, right.
Let's talk a little bit about, and again, we want the audience to read the book, but just give a taste, if you would, about that final concert. What was that like? Just a minute or two. We don't want to give too much away, but that final day is January 30th, 1969, right?
Right. We needed footage for the Let It Be film, and we had fooled around and just nobody could agree on what to do, so time had run out. So somebody said, let's just go up on the roof and do it. We'll film it up there. We'll lock the door downstairs. Nobody can bother us, and we'll get the film footage. And it was that simple. And for me, to happen to be working in the London office that week was just an incredible coincidence. So there was only 4 people up there that weren't really supposed to be up there. There's the band and the sound people and the film people, and then Yoko and Maureen, Ringo's wife, and Chris O'Dell, Peter Asher's assistant, and myself were the only 4 people that were invited up there to just sit there and watch it. We're the only ones that didn't have a job that day. We were the audience. So I was, and we sat, like 4 to 6 feet away, so I'm just basically sitting there looking right at their faces. You can see in the pictures on the roof, you can see us sitting against the chimney,
right
right by them there. And I wore a white coat that day, and I was the only person up there in white, so I'm really easy to spot. That was just a great stroke of luck on my part. Johnny Cash was the man in black. Well, I'm known as the man in the white coat.
Cover right now, right under the title, under the word concert. That's you, right?
Yeah.
And it was about 42 minutes or so. Is that what they played a set? About 40 minutes.
Yep. It was about 42, 43 minutes, and that was one of the most historical moments in rock and roll because, none of us thought, well, this is going to be the Beatles' last concert and they're never going to play together again as a live band, or that they're going to break up after this or anything like that. It was actually just another day at the office in a way, but then later on we realized that something had really magical happened that day, and none of us knew it was going to be one of the most historical moments in rock and roll. And just to have been there and to be a part of the whole experience anyway was pretty magical for a young man. I mean, I came off the Indian reservations in northern Idaho to end up on the roof in London with the Beatles. I don't know, how did I get here from there, And I could, if you asked me, I still couldn't explain it. I don't know. It just happened.
Yeah, great story, and you really describe it almost like a minute by minute, play by play. It's that type of book called The Roof, the Beatles' final concert. And before I let you go, Ken, I know you work with so many great people in the recording business. I've done jazz shows over the years, and standards, and I know you worked with Andy Williams for a long time, and country music. So you really had the run the gamut of all types of music, haven't you?
Yeah, I really have. It's just amazing. Everything from Waylon Jennings to Don Ho to the Beach Boys to the Quicksilver Messenger Service to, just name it, Lou Rawls, Stan Kenton, just an amazing variety of people. I just can't believe how it worked out for me like that.
Tiny Bubbles.
Judy Garland.
Remember Don? Judy Garland, yeah, right. Tiny Bubbles, I remember that. We went to Hawaii when I was a kid. I heard Tiny Bubbles about every day while I was there.
Yeah, that's right. He was incredible. He was one of the most fun people I worked with. Everybody I worked with. Don Ho was the greatest.
Really like the Frank Sinatra of Hawaii, almost. He had that type of following. He was huge.
He was the Elvis of Hawaii.
Elvis, I should say, maybe better, right? Right.
Yeah.
Judy Garland you work with, too. That must have been, I'm sure you could write a book about that.
Well, I tell you what, I never got nervous around artists because I felt natural with them. But when I worked that one day with Judy Garland, I couldn't even hardly talk. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm with Judy Garland. I mean, this is Dorothy from Dodge, And I was just looking like probably a dumb kid. Something about her it made me really nervous and shy and everything. So,
was it a recording date or a show, a live show?
No, she was. We'd just done this big album with her and Liza, and she was in San Francisco to do some promotion on the album.
Right.
And I was just sent up to spend the day with her and make sure she was okay and all that, and spend time with her.
Maybe, and just from the videos I've seen over the years, maybe the greatest, female live performer of all time when she was right. I mean, she was the best.
Yeah, she was. She was amazing.
Great.
Just amazing.
Well, again, The Roof, the Beatles' final concert is the name of the book. We've been talking with Ken Mansfield today. Ken, do you have a website you want to give out? I know books available everywhere, but...
Well, yeah, it's just mainmansfield.com, MAINMANSFIELD.com.
Great. And Ken, I know you're doing some great work up in Florida as well. Still, you got a ministry going, so God bless you for that, and hopefully we'll talk to you down the road.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us.
Let's do it. We're not that far apart. When I come down there... one of us will take each other to lunch, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks, Ken.
Okay. You bet, Doug.
Thank you for joining us today on Talk Across America. Please visit our website at dougmilesmedia.com for more great interviews and content. And if you're interested in any of the books we talk about on the program, please click the Amazon link on our website. It helps support the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again real soon here from beautiful Sarasota, Florida.
I'm Stan Brock. 30 years ago, I formed Remote Area Medical to help people overseas. But then we found generations of families in America isolated by poverty from the health care they need. Together, we can take dental, vision, and medical help to 1 million adults and their kids, right here at home in the United States of America.